And there's certainly no place where you're going to trust your money or your assets for 30 years, much less 100 years, much less 1,000 years. So when you start to ask the question, where do the 8 billion people on the planet and where do the 300 million corporations on the planet, where are they going to store their capital if they don't have recourse to the United States and, property on the Upper East Side? The conclusion you come to is, I'm going to put my money in cyberspace. And so Bitcoin's real use is it's digital property in cyberspace. It is cyber Manhattan.
In this recent interview with Trish Regan, Michael Saylor dives into Bitcoin's unmatched network security, highlighting it as the ultimate safeguard for investors. As Bitcoin trades at $772,000 with a 3% gain over the past 24 hours and a 10% increase over the last 30 days, Saylor explains why Bitcoin is nearly unbreakable. He details how Bitcoin's unique structure creates a digital fortress of value, capable of withstanding both economic shifts and technological threat.
You don't have time. Don't miss out this 2025 bull run. Educate yourself first ahead of the crowd. We have created the ultimate step-by-step crypto cheat guide that will guide you this bull run. Unlock the secrets of crypto and make smarter investments today. Now by clicking on the link below to get your exclusive copy just under $10.
Well, so first of all, what Satoshi discovered was how I send something of value between two different individuals without a trusted intermediary. So that's known as solving the double spend problem. But if I want to send $1 million from me to you without a bank, Satoshi solved that. But inadvertently, when Satoshi solved that problem, Satoshi figured out not just how to send $1 million from New York to Tokyo without an intermediary, but how to send $1 million forward in time 30 years without an intermediary. If you can transfer something without an intermediary, then you can store something without an intermediary. So the killer app of Bitcoin is the store of value in cyberspace. And what's that worth? There's about $900 trillion worth of wealth in the world, and about half of it is used for its utility value. People buy assets for their utility. They buy houses and buildings and boats and planes and pieces of art because they want to use them, look at them. But the other half of that wealth is assets that are purchased as a long-term capital investment or as a store of value. So $450 trillion of the world is long-term capital. And so if I take you and I drop you in Africa and I say, here, take $100 million, buy anything you want anywhere in Africa, but you got to keep it for 30 years. And, then I say, or you could have the same $100 million invested in the U.S. Most people would say, well, that's a no-brainer. I'm going to keep the money in the U.S. There's nothing I want in Africa that's as valuable as property in the U.S. But what if you can't have property in the U.S.? Then what if your choice is, I can have 100 million worth of Bitcoin in cyberspace. I can have 100 million worth of digital property, or I can have 100 million worth of land in any country in Africa, or any building or any company or any bond or any currency in Africa. And the answer, when you think about it, is there's nothing you want in Africa that's better than having digital property in cyberspace. It is a place where you can store your capital and give it to your great-grandchildren, and you know that you're not going to be taking risk against a bank as a counterparty, or another company, or country, or currency, or culture. When you don't want to take risk, when you don't want to make an investment, when you don't want to bet on the direction of the commodities market, when you just want to store some money for 100 years and forget about it, well, you put it in the safest bank in the universe.
We just heard Michael Saylor explain the network strength that contributes to Bitcoin's resilience. Now, let's explore why he believes this security can protect Bitcoin's value in a volatile market. He will provide insights into why no other asset compares to Bitcoin's unique combination of accessibility, durability, and scalability. Let's continue with Saylor's thoughts on how Bitcoin can deliver unparalleled stability in a changing world.
Well, the question that you're asking is the same question that I had to ask as the fiduciary responsible for $500 million of my shareholders' money back in 2020. I said, before I invest in this, is it going to be hacked? Is it going to be banned? Is it going to be copied? Those are the big three questions. And it's hard to know that in the first year of the network, but we're now approaching year 16. It'll be the 16th anniversary of the network on Halloween. That's the 16th anniversary of the white paper, that is. So after 16 years, it has been copied 10,000 times. They all failed. It's the winner, right? It's the network that all the smart, rich people in the world chose. It's the bank in cyberspace. If you show up in a city and there's 10,000 banks and you have a bunch of money, and the question is, which bank should you put your money in? You go find every smart, rich person that you know in the city and you say, hey, where do you put your money? And if they all put their money in one bank, you're probably not going to put your money in a bank that's a million times smaller than them that only has poor, stupid people. So it was copied. It's the winner. It is the bank that's of choice of the smart money in the world. And will it be banned? You couldn't know that for 15 years, but the IRS legitimized it as property in 2014. The SEC approved a host of Bitcoin ETFs in January of 2024. Today, it's held by nearly 100 publicly traded companies. Every major regulator has certified it as a commodity, not a security. That was a judgment by the former head of the SEC under Trump, and that's the judgment of the current head of the SEC, Gary Gensler. So it's not getting banned. And that takes us to the third question is, will it be hacked? And Satoshi's got about $70 billion in a bunch of wallets that any hacker could have if they could crack the code. And it's been there for 16 years and nobody's cracked the code. It hasn't been hacked. And the reason it hasn't been hacked is because it's defended by a wall of digital energy, about 730 exahash. That's more computer power than all of the computers that Amazon or Microsoft or Apple could, working jointly together, could generate. So it is the strongest wall of computer power in the world, stronger than any nation state can muster, stronger than any company can muster. And that computing power, combined with the fact that there's approximately $800 billion of actual money deposited in this bank over the past 15 years, combined with hundreds of millions of holders, combined with about almost 20 gigawatts of electricity, which is like 20 full-on nuclear reactors. 20 gigawatts is more electrical energy or more pure energy than drives the entire U.S. Navy. That's how much power it is. So Bitcoin's really defended by power, a lot of power in political, economic, digital, and electrical form. And there's no way to finesse it. You can't kind of spoof it or trick it. You just need 10 times as much computing power as exists on the surface of the earth in order to crack it. That's why no one's cracking it. There's a dream throughout the history of the human race of sound money, of money with integrity, something you could trust, something that you could store your life savings in and not have debased or destroyed or stolen from you. And that sound money took the form of gold after about 5,000 years. And throughout human history, the better civilizations have stood on the gold standard. And economists have always tried to create the perfect money. Gold was the closest thing to perfect money, but it was always imperfect because you could mine more gold and it's centralized. It was easy to steal gold and it was very slow to move. It would take a year to move gold. So there was this dream in the economic community of perfect money. And it was impossible to create perfect money or clean, sound money until the invention of the internet, combined with the invention of public-private key cryptography, combined with the invention of semiconductors. And so Bitcoin represents the engineering of perfectly sound money. And it was only possible once those three technologies advanced. And there was a group of cypherpunks that were playing with cryptography, playing with the internet, and they saw the development of hashing algorithms like SHA-256 and the ability to build that into an application-specific semiconductor. And they probably tried this 40 times. There were products like Hashcash and digital gold and BitGold and things like that. And the first 30 or 40 of them failed. And then after about 40, some Bitcoin came along, and Bitcoin learned from the failures of the 40 before it. And it was the first truly decentralized crypto monetary network. And it was lucky because it just had the right monetary policy, which is absolute scarcity, 21 million. And it had the right frequency, a block every 10 minutes, the right bandwidth, the right protocols. And, when it was launched in January 3rd of 2009, did we know it was perfect? No, nobody knew it was perfect. In fact, it didn't trade for a year and a half almost. And the first time it was used for transactions was Pizza Day around May of 2010, where somebody bought 2 pizzas with 10,000 Bitcoin. So at that point, 10,000 Bitcoin, $700 million worth of Bitcoin was traded for 2 pizzas.
Yeah.
And then people thought, well, maybe it's something, but it's still kind of a hobby. And it took another decade before it wasn't a hobby.
Michael Saylor's perspective on Bitcoin's robust network structure provides strong reasons to believe in its long-term value. We'd love to hear your thoughts on a couple of questions. Can Bitcoin's network power ensure its security? And is it genuinely the ultimate store of value? For more Daily Dose Crypto news, check out these 2 awesome videos on your screen. Click now and we will see you on the next video.